Jack Ebling here with Dan Kilbridge of the Concourse of Breslin Center, our postseason show for all Big Ten honors and a preview of the NCAA tournament pairings. I guess we have a lot of work that has to be done yet at the Big Ten tournament. But let's start with our Big Ten Player of the Year, Dan, and I think there are three candidates. How did you order the three guys?
Well, you know, it's tough because when you look at Johnson and you look at Sullinger, two very skilled guys, one of them won the conference championship, the other fell a little short there, and you have to wonder how much to weigh that, how much you put on winning that conference championship, and then also, you know, Jordan Taylor, Wisconsin, with the things he was able to do, very impressive. Maybe didn't have as good a year team-wise as they were hoping, and I think I ordered number one, Jared Sullinger. I just think what he was able to do as a freshman coming in to help that team when they lose their best player. It really maybe not as flashy of a player as JaJuan Johnson, doesn't jump out at you with the highlight reel dunks or things of that nature. He just does everything well. He's got great footwork, his hands, and some of the things he does around the basket, you know, make you think that he's 21, 22 years old, much more mature player than he shows. So I went with Sullinger first, JaJuan Johnson. I think he's going to be a great pro. I know there's some debate about that, but I think he's really going to do well in the NBA. I went with JaJuan Johnson, number 2, and then Jordan Taylor at number 3.
Well, I would love to have any of the three of them to start a team. I think you could build around any of those three players. I went with JaJuan Johnson, number 1, and I thought that after the loss of Robbie Hummel, the first day of practice, there was so much pressure on JaJuan Johnson and E'Twaun Moore that for Johnson to lead the Big Ten in scoring and block shots and shoot nearly 90% at the foul line, something you don't see from a guy that size, I just thought that he carried a lot of weight. Jared Sullinger carried a lot of weight too, but
different kind of weight.
Different guy. But he had a lot of help with him, and I don't mean to diminish what he accomplished because he made a lot of John Diebler's threes possible. But I gave JaJuan Johnson just a slight edge, and then in third place I had Jordan Taylor just a hair behind. And when you look at what he did, he was the leading scorer going into the final weekend, finished second to JaJuan Johnson, and I also thought that his assist-to-turnover ratio, twice as good as any other player in the Big Ten, NCAA record levels when you look at the way Wisconsin played, not turning the ball over. I think that if he comes back for a senior year, he could be the best guard in the country. So those are our lists. Dan has Jared Sullinger, JaJuan Johnson, Jordan Taylor. I'm flipping the first two, and I have JaJuan Johnson as my Big Ten Player of the Year. What about your Coach of the Year?
Coach of the Year, I went with Thad Mann. I think, again, when you lose a player like Evan Turner, you've got to really rebuild, especially with what he's looking at where you only play 6, 7 guys a night, and you got to make sure those guys gel well together. I know he had a lot of talent, but I think he did a great job handling Sullinger. Maybe, again, a little more mature than your average freshman, but I think he really did a good job with that team in the way they were able to win games close. They didn't blow every team out. They had some close calls. I thought, you know, he made some good calls late down the stretch to put them in position to win those close games, and I was just very impressed with the job he did this year.
Who else would be in your final 3? Did you have some runner-ups?
I didn't make a runner-up list. I think you got to look at you know, some other guys. Painter, obviously, with what he was able to do with when you lose Hummel, so I think he would have been my number 2 as well there. And I tell you what, I know he didn't win many games, but I really like this Fran McCaffery guy, and not putting him in the discussion this year certainly, but I think maybe in 5, 6 years from now, I like him as a coach, and I like what he's doing.
Well, I talked to a basketball expert last night who actually considered voting for Fran McCaffery as Big Ten Coach of the Year, so don't know if that's how it turned out. I would give my Coach of the Year award to Matt Painter. I just thought that having a blow like the loss of your best player the first day of practice, very, very difficult to overcome, and nipping at Ohio State's heels the whole way. I think Purdue's going to be a very tough out in the NCAA tournament. I also want to mention, besides Thad Matta, Bo Ryan. I thought he did another tremendous job at Wisconsin. Always put too low in the rankings, and somehow manages to not only find talent, but to develop talent. And doing that with 2- and 3-star players, and sometimes not even that, really says a lot. And I also want to give mention to John Beilein. I had Michigan 11th in the Big Ten coming into this season. And the fact that the Wolverines were able to finish 9-9 talks about the kind of coaching job he did with no seniors. So those would be my candidates. What about your top 5 freshmen?
Top 5 freshmen. Very good year for freshmen, I thought. You know, got to go with Aaron Kraft and the job he did at Ohio State. I really like his game. Sort of reminds me of the way Drew Neitzel played as a freshman. Maybe a little better scorer, Kraft is, but I think the decision-making, the ball penetration, all those tools are there, and I think he's going to be a great player moving forward. Also went with Tim Hardaway Jr., who you put on your third team. I gave it some serious thought, but he wound up on my all-freshman team for the job he did at Michigan this year. I also put Keith Ebling on there, not for the job he did scoring, but for his defense. I mean, he won Defensive Player of the Year for MSU with the team banquet, did a lot of things and really shut down some scores in key games, so he made my list. Also went with Deshaun Thomas from Ohio State, thought he had some pretty good contributions there, as well as, of course, Player of the Year, Jared Sullinger from my end.
Well, I think everyone's going to have Sullinger on top of this list, but I also had Tim Hardaway Jr. I thought he developed very well. Melsan Basabi of Iowa, I thought was up in the top 12 of just about all the major categories and really was a key player for Iowa down the stretch. I love Aaron Kraft's game. Ohio State got a big break when he couldn't go to Tennessee. That changed a lot of things for that team. And my 5th player is Jordan Morgan. Even though he is not a true freshman, he redshirted, and I don't think anyone thought he would be much coming out of high school, but somehow he found a home at the University of Michigan, and he is now the Big Ten's field goal percentage champion. So he is the top percentage shooter for 2010-2011. In terms of the teams that are going to make the NCAA tournament, Dan, how many do you see?
I see right now I've got 5. I think Ohio State gets in. I think they get a 1 seed if they're able to make a run in the conference tournament here. I've also got Purdue. I think Wisconsin will get in. Looking at that Illinois-Michigan game, I think is a key one in the Big Ten tournament. I think Illinois wins that game, and I think Illinois gets in the tournament. They're the 4th team in, as well as Michigan State. So those are my 5 teams. I think
you have Michigan out.
I have Michigan out. I think if they lose in the tournament, I just don't think they have enough quality wins. I mean, you look at Clemson, and they've also got, you know, the win over State 2 times. That's a good one. But other than that, I don't see enough quality wins to justify putting them in if they don't win at least one Big Ten tournament game.
I think Ohio State is going to be the overall #1 seed and would be a #1 seed if they didn't play, or if they lost the first game, it wouldn't matter. I think Purdue is going to be a #2 seed at Wisconsin, a #3 seed. And you have Michigan and Illinois playing in that 4-5 matchup. I think they're both in. I think that Michigan has what they call good losses. The game against Kansas that went to overtime certainly would qualify. Played Ohio State very tough. Had the sweep of Michigan State. It's hard to put Michigan State in over a team that swept it. So I have Michigan in as #5. And I have Michigan State in as #6, provided the Spartans beat Iowa. If the Spartans lose to the Hawkeyes, then I think they're NIT bound. But I think there's a good chance Michigan State will win that game. And in a normal year, maybe not. I see that Joe Lunardi has Michigan State in his last 4 teams in. But when you look at the field with 68 teams, there aren't a lot of quality teams that would be left out. Maybe it's expansion, maybe it's just a softer year. And then you would have Penn State, Northwestern, and Minnesota NIT bound. I think we could have 9 teams from the Big Ten could get in.
I think they could. I think you look at you know, Michigan. I had them in the NIT, and you know, still some debate there, obviously. But Penn State, Northwestern, Minnesota. You know, I think those are all good teams, and I think they should be playing postseason tournaments. The Big Ten was really balanced this year. I mean, you know, there's the clear-cut best team in Ohio State, maybe the clear-cut low team in Indiana, and then in the middle it's just really bunched up, a lot of good teams. So I think this will be a year when they put quite a few teams in the postseason tournaments.
Well, that clear-cut low team in Indiana took Michigan State to overtime here in the Breslin Center. So Michigan State needs to take care of business against a team that beat it by 20 points in Iowa City. And if the Spartans beat the Hawkeyes, they could be headed to the 14th straight NCAA tournament. Jack Ebling here with Dan Kilbridge from the concourse of Breslin Center, our postseason show for 2010-2011.